Man, it sure is creepy in this old high school because apparently I'm a high school student in the 80s. It would be a strange thing if there was a monster behind me. The Demogorgon! Ah! Hello, my children! Your father has brought you a new swatching video. And just a quick note, this is my second time filming this because after filming for an hour and a half yesterday, actually over an hour and a half yesterday, I realized that the audio was not connected and I just made one very long silent film. I'm also going to try to do things a little differently and have my script over there, so that way I can maybe record this a little bit quicker because I don't have another hour and 40 minutes to waste. So back to this video, one thing that I want to do more of on this channel is to feature some of the smaller brands that y'all might not have heard of. And today we have the first two collections from a new brand, Apocalypse Polish. Both collections are themed around the show Stranger Things, and if the intro didn't give it away, it's pretty clear that my husband and I are not that familiar with the show. I mean, we did watch the first season. We know Demogorgon, the Blood,
Waffles,
Eggo Waffles, and what was that lady's name?
Barb.
Barb. We looked it up last time, that y'all didn't see. Or, I mean, you could see, but didn't hear. So I'm gonna miss a lot of the references, but I hope that true fans really appreciate them. More about the brand, the owner Apocalypse Annie said she created the brand with the end of the world in mind. And one thing that I really like about Apocalypse Polish is that 10% of their net proceeds are getting donated to non-profit organizations to support those who are struggling in their own personal apocalypse. Just don't look at my eyes during this.
I'm not looking at you at all.
I know, but they're looking at me, and they see that I'm cheating and not memorizing my lines.
You've never once memorized a line.
That is not true.
One time that you read the copy version of the Mooncat Color. That was the only time that you, read a line.
I don't memorize the lines. Yes, I do. Their chosen organization for the first quarter is the Partnership Against Domestic Violence. So I really appreciate seeing something like this from a brand, and I love their mission. Lastly, I wanted to note that their polishes are vegan, cruelty-free, tan-free, and handmade in small batches in Atlanta, Georgia. So today I'm going to show you the swatches from both of the first two collections, how they compare to things in my collection, and show you some of the goodies that are available from Apocalypse Polish. So let's get into that. First up is Dear Billy in the first collection, which is called Very Strange Things. This polish is described as a deep red cherry shade with an intense cherry red shimmer. What?
You did the exact same thing that you did yesterday where you reversed cherry red, but then said cherry red the second time.
I'm eccentric. Leave me be.
You're also...
Stop making jokes I can't use. Like pink polishes, reds are not usually my vibe, but I do appreciate the shimmer in this shade. And cherry red is right because this shade is serving charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Honestly, this looks like something that a fierce little secretary named Peggy would wear with those little red glasses, and I'm here for it. Anyways, this looked like it was almost at full coverage in 2 coats, but I did do a 3rd coat in order to be safe. One note here is I generally paint on the thinner side for the purpose of these videos for time-saving reasons. No, it says purposes, purposes.
Yeah, I know. I wrote purposes, purposes.
I don't like that.
I'm wrong. You're right in this.
Okay.
For once. The only time. Don't get used to it.
So you may not need as many coats as I used in order to reach full opacity. There was a very slight touch of visible nail line, but it's difficult to see on camera, so it's not really a problem for me. As for the comparisons, I put it next to my other See You Next Tuesday reds. None of them are a dupe, but I think Hollow Taco's Sacrificial Lacquer kind of matches the vibe. Red by Cracked is nothing alike, and honestly, not sure why I grabbed it. Somehow this was the second try to grab comparisons, and this one still made the final cut, so apologies. Finally, Mooncat's The Arsonist is too deep, but stunning nonetheless. So overall, it's not something that I'm probably going to be wearing because of the base color, but I do really appreciate it. Up next is Very Strange Things, the titular shade. This shade is described as a black and red glitter bomb set in a clear base. And clear base is true because this took 3 coats to get to full opacity, and there might have been little gaps between the glitters because they are on the smaller side. Regardless, this is the kind of red polish that I appreciate because it has something like texture in it. I don't remember if it dried down textured after the top coat. I feel like if it did, I would have written that note here, so I'm just gonna assume that it dried down smooth, but sorry, don't quote me on that. That said, Apocalypse does have a glitter grabber top coat that does help to smooth things down, that I didn't use in this application. Onto comparisons, I put it next to colors with a similar tone. The closest was Holo Taco's I'm Rover It, but it's too orange and the goldish shimmer within takes over. Rita by Prism Parade is more like a shinier version of the last color, so maybe it should have gone there. Look, I'm apologizing now, the comparisons are all over the place in this video. Finally, Ruby Madly Deeply by Holo Taco has a similar texture but is a more vibrant red. I think the inclusion of the black glitters and very strange things help pulls this color into a more rust direction, making this have its own place within my collection. So overall, I really like this color, but I'd probably wear it over something opaque to cut down on the number of coats that are needed. Next up is Running Up That Hill. This polish has a red to orange to gold shimmer that is a predominantly warmer orange color. The base is described as a tomato red, but the glitters in this polish really make it more orange to me. I do think the glitters in this polish are slightly smaller than the last one, so they're still visible as individual particles, but work together to create a more uniform finish. And I found this buildable in 3 coats with a tiny hint of visible nail line. As for comparisons, I placed this next to some of my shiny orange polishes. Bookmarks the Spot by Cracked has a similar texture but is more rust toned, while Running Up That Hill is more vibrant, maybe coral leaning, now that I know what color coral is from my last video. Holo Taco's Xyler Cat Eye is a more pale metallic orange that is nothing alike. Now that I see these 3 together, I think the red base in Running Up That Hill is more apparent because it's clear that this is the warmest color out of the 3. So I do really like this shade, not only because the color, but it reminds me of one of my favorite drag queens named Kate Butch. Next is Mornings Are for Coffee and Contemplation. Apocalypse describes this as a waffly orange beige accented by a maple syrupy golden shimmer. Maybe I was raised on corn syrup, but I wouldn't really call this maple syrup, I'd call it orange. Regardless, I really like this color though. It had great opacity and got to full coverage in only 2 coats. Am I boring you?
Yes.
And I love the slight pearlescent shine of the shimmer, making this a really pretty color.
I had a long day at work doing nothing.
Okay, well, we had a magician at school today, so I can't really complain that much. Now, I did manage to bonk my nail after the 2nd coat, so I added a 3rd coat in order to hide my shame. I guess mornings are for coffee, contemplation, and shame. Shame, 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 shame. I still don't think people are going to get that.
Nail fam, leave a comment below if you understand this reference. But it only works if you're if you're just going you're just hammering Bob the Builder. What are you doing? Off a ghost.
For comparisons, I don't have anything like this, so the closest was Poems for a Harvest Moon by Moodcat. Did I say Moodcat? They are similar solely in the fact that they're orange, they have totally different pigment size and shimmer color, but hey, they're orange. So as I said, I really like this color. In fact, when I first got it, I messaged Apocalypse Annie herself to personally thank her because I was obsessed with the opacity of this one. Moving on, we have I Dump Your Ass. This one is described as a neon magenta purple with a soft blue to purple shimmer. Sometimes I don't really know why I'm a nail polish reviewer because I really have nothing to say about pink polishes. I mean, I know I'm going to manage to yap about this polish for a couple of coats, but pink just doesn't do anything for me. I will say the blue shimmer is nice, but this isn't something that I think I would personally wear on its own. Not because it's a bad shade at all, I found that it had pretty decent coverage and it looked good enough in 2 coats, but I did do a 3rd coat to remove a very little hint of visible nail line that I saw. Moving on to the comparisons, the closest I have is Flash Drive by Holo Taco because it has a similar purple base. However, the overall color is way more purple and the shimmer is an entirely different color. As for the last color, I know once again, it looks like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I grabbed Neon Arcade by Prism Parade because it was also a pinky polish with a blue shimmer. Totally different pink, but hey, I think I get a couple of points for the shimmer match, right? So don't get me wrong, it's a pretty color, just not for me. Wrapping up the first collection, we have In Soviet Russia, Upside Down Comes to You. This is a thermal polish with blue glitters that shifts from a cool berry when cold to a shimmery blue when warm. And I'm gonna preface this by saying that I am aware this was an incredibly thin polish, but I think it might have been my favorite from the entire collection. The entire 2 collections, yeah.
Okay, Duolingo French.
That I haven't done in like 68 days. Duolingo's
Yeah,
gonna
no,
murder me.
that's-
I'm sorry, Duo. You may be confused because this isn't a color story that I would typically turn to, but wait until the final coat because it looks so cool since my nails are long enough to show the full thermal effect. Now, speaking of the final coat, I've recently been trying to avoid doing 4 coats in these videos because I feel like 3 coats is pushing it for the average consumer, but I was loving the shift of this one so much that I just had to add a 4th coat to hide the visible nail line that I saw. Mostly because I wanted to see what it looked like in its full glory because it was so pretty. As for comparisons, nothing in my collection has the same effect as this. I grabbed Curfew Crasher by Holo Taco because it has a similar base color to the Cold State, but also because I want to have at least one comparison for every color. Honestly, there's nothing like this in my collection, so I'm really glad I have this polish. Something about this softer, cool color that shifts to this warm and spooky color makes my heart so happy. Like, I feel like this is my personal Wanda Maximoff moment where I'm getting possessed and corrupted by the dark hold and my fingers are turning all dark and spooky, but make it glamorous.
Is she,
Possessed by the dark hold?
Yes.
And here's the first collection altogether. I'll talk about my favorites near the end of the video, but let's get into Apocalypse's second collection, Very Strange Things Volume 2. First up is Flayer of Minds. This polish is described as having a cool violet jelly base with a lively red holographic flake. And if you watched my Cirque video, you know I'm not the biggest fan of jellies on their own, but I do appreciate them for their potential of nail art or if they have stuff in them like this one. However, I found this one to be very sheer and didn't have anywhere near full opacity after the 3rd coat. I think if I were to wear this polish again, I probably wouldn't wear it on its own, but maybe as a topper over a lighter creme color. For comparisons, I don't have anything like this polish as I have limited jellies in my collection, so these are some attempts to dupe, and I mean attempts, not successes. First, I put Acai Jelly by Cirque with Holo Taco's Naughty List. While Naughty List matches the vibe of the red holographic flakes in Flayer of Minds, the base color is entirely wrong. I then tried to make another dupe, so I used Holo Taco's Indigo Away with Naughty List over it as well. I think I personally matched the bottle itself, but not the swatch at all. So I'd call this one a spiritual dupe. Finally, just for funsies, I added acai jelly on top of the one that had that before, since a lot of the comments on the Cirque video talked about making jelly sandwiches, so I was inspired during this swatch. Not a dupe at all, but stunning nonetheless. So overall, I'm not the biggest fan of this one, but probably because I only wore it on its own. I feel like I would like this if I played with this a little bit more, maybe not enough to become a jelly polish stan, but maybe a jelly polish respectful admirer from afar. Next up is Demogorgeous. This polish is a soft lavender to pink multichrome with blue shimmer and a touch of holo. This one looked pretty good in 2 coats, but it did seem thin at the tip, and there was a touch of visible nail line, so I did do a 3rd coat to cover that up. And I actually really liked this color a lot more than I expected to, even with the pink aspect, because it has this ghostly, ethereal vibe that I really appreciate. I think it's because the blue shimmer kind of overshadows the pink, making it more of something that I can see myself wearing again in the future. As for comparisons, I put it next to Ghost Ship by Mooncat because they have the same undertones, even though Ghost Ship is a magnetic, metallic looking polish. I also put it next to Wonder Glow by Polish Me Silly because it's also a pink polish with a blue shimmer. Now I know this one looks nothing alike, but I haven't got the chance to use this color yet in a comparison, and it was given to me by a friend who, after we met, we both realized we make nail content for social media. Her Instagram is Manicures and Minerals, and you should go give her a follow because her aesthetic is immaculate. I'll put a link in the description below. So overall, I surprisingly like this color. I think it's because it's more of a cool leaning polish, and it just looks like this combination of whimsical and spooky, and honestly, what more can you ask for in life?
Many things. Money, success, fame,
Glamour.
and glamour.
That is another niche Drag Race reference. Not because it's old, it's because nobody watched that bad season. Next up is the Upside Down. This is described as a deep sapphire blue with a pearly blue shimmer, blue holographic flakes, and red large particle shimmer. This was also one of my favorites from the entire set of collections, and in fact, I'm wearing it right now. I think the pearly blue shimmery aspect of this makes it almost have this metal look, and I'm really obsessed with that. I did notice that it was on the thinner side, and it needed 3 coats to reach full opacity. As for comparisons, I grabbed some shiny blue polishes and failed teal to dupe it. Hollow Taco's Twice in a Blue Moon is too teal leaning, but has a similar metallic shine. Mooncat's Dark Night of the Soul is close-ish, but the purple-red undertones pull it into another direction. And my dupe attempt is Midnight Phase by Cracked and Flaky Hollow Taco. I don't know what I was thinking here. It isn't close at all. Stunning, but not close at all. I don't know. For what I'm wearing now, 3 coats was good on my other hand because my nails are shorter on that side, but for my main hand, 3 coats didn't really seem like enough because there's this weird phantom nail line that I'm seeing. Like, it's not a visible nail line. You can't clearly see where the finger stops, but you can just sense where the finger stops. It doesn't bother me, but it was just something I noticed, and I had to share. Moving on, we have Toto. I don't think we're in Hawkins anymore. This polish is a blue glitter bomb with black, cobalt, and sapphire holographic glitters set in a clear base. On the first coat, I was convinced this would take a million coats to cover the space between each glitter, but I was shocked that I got to full opacity in just 2 coats. I think the chunky aspect of these glitters really helped with the coverage. And speaking of these glitters, I am in love with the inclusion of the black glitters in this polish because it really adds some nice dimension to the overall look. However, I didn't really notice the holographic aspect of these glitters because it really just shines white and has a more metallic look to it, which is something I'm a big fan of, just not really that hollow. As for comparisons, I don't have anything like this, but Starry Eyed by Hollow Taco is also a glitter polish that is in a similar cool green base. It also has a relatively similar glitter size, minus the stars of course, so not a dupe. So overall, I'm a big fan of this one, and I plan on wearing it again when I have the chance. Next up is Right Side Up. Next up is the Right Side Up. This polish is a linear holographic thermal polish that shifts from light blue to dark blue in the warm or cold state. And this had pretty decent coverage as I got it to full opacity in 2 coats. I did wear this for a few days after swatching, and when in a different temperature than our office, there was a much more noticeable shift in the thermal aspect of this polish. The cold state is a much deeper blue, and the warm state is more of a desaturated blue, creating this almost reverse hollow French tip effect on the nails since they were long enough to show this. As for comparisons, I put it next to other blue hollow polishes in my collection. None of them are thermal, so nothing is a dupe, but also none of them have the same color. Sparkling Water is too desaturated, closer to the warm state of this, and Hydropower is just too cyan. Overall, I was initially really disappointed in this color because I didn't see the thermal shift, but because I wore it for longer and I got to experience the full effect, I'm really obsessed with this polish. Finishing up the second collection, we have Jock. This polish is described as a true neon blue with a soft blue shimmer. I really liked this color because it was just so freaking bright, and honestly, neon blue is a great description for it. It also had great coverage and pretty much was at full opacity in 2 coats. I did have an application error during the second coat where I think I pressed the brush down a little too hard while I was painting. This required a 3rd coat in order to cover the bald spot that I made, but it's on brand since I'm a bald spot. It's because I'm bald.
Freshly molded.
Wait. For comparisons, I put it next to some of the brighter blues in my collection. Hollow Taco's wireless mode was nothing alike because the base color is very saturated and the inclusion of the green shimmer pushes this into a more mermaidy direction. Electric Horizon by Prism Parade is honestly more similar to wireless mode than it is to Jock. Finally, Pixie Sticks by Tyler's Trinkets is much closer in terms of tone, but it's still not bright enough to match Jock. So ultimately, none of these are dupes because Jock is the brightest blue shimmery polish that I own.
That was amazing. You said everything correctly.
I was reading.
For once!
Rude! In front of my children! Our children. So I do like this color a lot. It had great coverage and it has this nice icy blue shimmer, and I want to figure out how to use it again, maybe in nail art. And here are the 2 collections together. Since there were 12 colors, I grouped them into each hand based on the overarching color story, since warm, cool, and purple tones were the 3 through lines I saw in these collections. As I said, my favorites come from the last set because I love me some blue polish, but there are some standouts in the earlier set because I can't wait to wear some of these again when it gets spooky out. And before we wrap things up, it's time for the WOMOH.
WOMOH, what's on my other hand?
Apocalypse sent me their gift with purchase shades that I put on my other hand and on my thumb of my main hand. From pinky to thumb, I'm wearing Friends Don't Lie, Squelching Sounds Intensify, 001, 1111 Make a Strange Wish, and The Sorcerer. Oh, and also before we go, they sent me some scented nail oils too. Normally I'm not a scented nail oil girly, but these really appealed to my inner 6-year-old with scents such as cherry slushy. Like, I don't know how she did it. Witchcraft. It smells just like cherry slushy. Though I will say my absolute favorite is the maple syrup scented one because it just smells like the artificial maple syrup of my childhood and it brings me back to a simpler time. Talking about the scents of these things is just not my wheelhouse. I kind of feel like a candle vlogger. Like, here, smell this. Tell me if you like it. Like, how do candle vloggers work? Like, warm tone scents. So don't forget to like and subscribe. I gotta go take the Demogorgon out to make a stranger thing. So I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye. Go dad. Go dad. There's a lot of stairs for him. Hey, where are you going? Young man! He's going down. Titan, you want cookie? Get up here! Oh my god, he went down to the ground floor.